I want to tell you a story about running your own very small business. There are a lot of shady characters out there who will hire you as a freelancer, have you do a lot of work, and then leave you hanging, never pay the bill. I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine who wound up in that situation. She was a freelancer and did a bunch of work for a client who racked up about $30,000 worth of bills and then didn't pay. And here's what she did to get paid. So, once upon a time, this friend of mine, we knew each other through food safety consulting. She got a new client, and normally, what she does is she makes people pay a deposit up front to make sure that they actually have money in a bank account to pay for the work they're asking for. And that did a pretty good job of filtering out most of the scammers and con artists that you can run into. She got this new client. It was a food handling facility. What she was doing for them normally takes 3 to 6 months. And this guy was like, I am in such a hurry. We need it done now, 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 now. Normally, she would bill her clients once a month. And if they didn't pay their monthly bill, then you stopped doing the work. But they were in such a hurry, and she was good enough at her job that she was able to do all that 3 to 6 months worth of prep in less than a month. And then when the bill was ready, they just never paid. And weeks went by and months went by, and she sent them follow-up emails. Hey, maybe you forgot. You got to pay that invoice. They said, we don't think we do. We don't agree that we owe you all this money. That was a $30,000 bill. She was a young mom at the time. She didn't take on a lot of clients. That's like at least half of her yearly income was that one client, $30,000. And she found out that $30,000 is exactly the wrong amount of money to be owed by somebody, because if you're a small business and that's your sole source of income, that's enough of a hit to really hurt you, but it's not enough to be worth suing somebody over. Because even if you can't afford a lawyer and you can win the lawsuit, all the money's going to go to lawyer fees. $30,000 is a bad amount of money to be owed by somebody. So she didn't have a whole lot of recourse. Even if she could afford to sue them, it's not worth it. The normal thing of just reminding them and kind of being annoying about it, that wasn't working. She could put a lien on the property, and if they ever sold it, then she could get paid back then. But they might not ever sell it, might not work. She was just like, man, what do I do? This sucks. And at the same time, she wasn't just worried about herself. Part of her job doing food safety consulting was to introduce this client to all these other vendors, the people who sell cleaning chemicals, people who can do like pest control and rodent trapping services and make sure they don't have rodents in the facility. She introduced this bum client to all of her Rolodex of these people who were now also maybe going to get stiffed with bills. Especially in agriculture and food, your network is so important. People need to know that you're trustworthy. And so if you're introducing, your colleagues to this client who turns out to be a bum, turns out to be a deadbeat, who stiffs everybody, that's not just your friends having a problem. Now they have a problem with you. You introduce them to this bum. How can they trust you next time you want to introduce them to another new client? So now she's got, oh no, this could happen to my colleagues as well, and I've got a reputational issue. What am I going to do? This is a big problem for her. So she did what any thoughtful person would do. She picked up that phone and she started calling people. She said, hey, I know I introduced you to this client. I just wanted to let you know they are really behind on their invoices. I am hoping we're going to get this resolved, but I just wanted to let you know if they're dragging their feet on paying you, it might be a good move for you to hold off on providing any more services until they pay you. And the funniest thing happened. Every single person she called said, oh yeah, they haven't paid me either. She said, that's interesting. So she called the next person. Let me call the packaging supplier. Oh, they're not paying me either. Awesome. Don't give them any packaging until they pay you. She started working her way up the chain. Chemical suppliers, packaging suppliers, the company that they had providing and laundering their uniforms, that kind of thing. Your uniform provider and your rodent control person, that's kind of a small contract. That's a few $100s a month. But by the time you're talking seed and fertilizer, that's thousands of dollars a month. And they weren't getting paid either. She started calling capital equipment providers, the people who had sold them the machines that were in the facility. And she found out they weren't getting paid either. This guy was in debt to everybody and wasn't paying any of his bills. So every time she called a new person, she could say, this isn't just about me. This is a lot of people are not getting paid by this company. Pretty soon after getting that phone call, every single one of those vendors stopped giving that client, that company, things for free. They cut them off. They said, it's been fun. Invoices are due. Oh, you need something? Awesome. We will pick up the phone after the invoice is paid. Every single one of those providers cut that company off. And pretty soon they couldn't do business anymore. They couldn't get anything they needed. And within a couple of months, that company collapsed. They had to sell the facility to somebody else. My friend was not actually feeling vindicated at that point because she didn't get paid. The company just collapsed without paying her. But then the company that bought that facility called her up and said, hey, I understand this has been going on. They've got some outstanding invoices. We would love to pay you. At that point, they were kind of scared of her. They heard what happened and they needed to repair relationships with all of these vendors. And you start by paying people, especially the person who tipped everybody off, has their phone numbers and can call them back and say, hey, we're getting paid now. Here's their contact. Here's who you call to get that invoice covered. I tell this story to let you know there are a lot of scummy people out there who will cheat you like this. And I want you to know that you don't have to sit there and take it. You have a lot more power than you think. The reason these companies call you and have you do things for them is because they need you. The little people, we've got credit reports. Our trustworthiness is a matter of public record. We are being monitored all the time for if we pay our debts. And I just think companies need to be treated the same way. It's only fair. People who don't pay their debts should not be getting more business. And we have the power to help make that happen. Be in communication with each other, talk to each other. If you're running into problems with the client, you're probably not the only one they're doing that to. And a little bit of communication can go a long way. What you do with this story is up to you, and y'all do good out there.